going to get started here. I know we're running a few minutes late, but there are some people trickling in, so I just wanted to give you an opportunity to come in. So thank you all for coming tonight. My name is James Coffey. I'm the athletic director here at Falmouth High School. So that covers local high school and middle school. And I've been here at Falmouth for 8 years, which is kind of crazy to me because I feel like in some ways it just got here. It just got to me. I've been here for 8 years. I've been an athletic director for, this is my 19th year. And I was in the AD in Massachusetts for 11 years before coming up. And this is actually the first time we've been able to do this since COVID. So the last time we were here and we had this meeting, I think it was August of 2019. And so for a lot of our parents and guardians, even seniors, we didn't have this presentation before, so we're happy to be back here. And we'll cover a bunch of stuff tonight. I promise to be brief. A quick funny story, Rob and I, this is Rob Sullivan, if you don't know him already, he is the mayor of Falmouth. And we were just joking, the first year we did this, I don't think Falmouth had ever had like one of these nights before, and it was standing room only. I'm not kidding, like rows deep into the hallway. It was kind of cool. And we had all these old t-shirts. And we thought it would be great at the end to throw out t-shirts and everybody round it up. And I had like one t-shirt left, and I launched it to the upper deck. And this kid, Jack Scribner, was in the front row, and he reached over like he was at Fenway going for a foul ball, and almost came over the ledge, and I had the biggest panic attack of my life that night. But here we go, first night. Kid almost falls off the duck. Rob and I have a lot of funny stories over the last 8 years, so I promise to be brief. This is a good informational meeting, and we'll cover everything from registration to expectations of the players and parents and guardians and coaching staff. So, real quickly, I just want to introduce, this is the staff, this is the athletic department, and you know Rob Sullivan, who has been here longer than all of us, 3 years? 22. He's been here as the athletic trainer for 22 years, which is pretty amazing. Everybody knows Rob. He's an institution in Falmouth, and he's also assistant AD, as well as a head athletic trainer. And I couldn't do this without him. He's my partner in crime, and he does an awesome job. He's a great, great athletic trainer. So if your child has an injury, he's, or she, or whoever, is in very, very good hands with this guy right here. Ann Kane is our administrative assistant. She works in our office. She covers our athletic things, transportation, helps us with a bunch of stuff, but she also does all of our bookkeeping, purchase orders. She does, for those of you who know the SAIL program here at the high school, she does all the financials for the SAIL program. She does all the financials for our transportation department, for our buildings and grounds. She orders all the teachers' books. I mean, she does 6 jobs, and she does it so easily. I can't figure it out. Her executive functioning skills are far beyond all of us in our office. So Ann is amazing. Sam Tobias is in her 2nd year with us. She is a part-time assistant athletic trainer. She works with Rob. She does a fantastic job. We're super fortunate to have Sam. Not every school even has one athletic trainer. There are 40,000 high schools in the country, and there's a huge shortage of athletic trainers, and some schools don't even have them. Or they outsource to a clinic and get somebody different every day. We have 2 athletic trainers here who are great, who are on staff, who are here all the time. So our coverage in Maine is second to none. We're the best athletic training staff there is. And Maureen Sylvia, on the far right, Maureen's been here for, I think, over 25 years as a PE teacher at Falmouth Middle School. So if you're a student here and you went to FMS, I'm sure you had Miss Sylvia as a teacher. And she's also our middle school AD, and she helps run the middle school programs and coordinate transportation, buses, and scheduling. It's a tough job down there. It's a lot easier to work with high school students. They're a little better at communicating. And so Maureen does a really fantastic job, and she's been with us. This is her 3rd year. So we have a staff here that has some stability. We've been here for a while, and hopefully we plan to stay here for a while. For our department, what's our why we do this? Rob played sports. It's why all of these students up here play sports. It's fun. It's a great thing to do. Teaches you about life lessons. Some of the best life lessons I've ever learned were being part of a team. Whether it was high school, I played 3 sports, or I played multiple sports. I played college baseball. Learning how to be a good teammate, how to work within a group, how to compromise, how to learn to deal with adversity. And that's probably the biggest thing, is learning how to deal with adversity. That's probably the best lesson that you can learn, because you're not always going to be starting. Maybe you think you should be, but somebody's in front of you, or you get injured and you have to fight back from that. There's a lot of things, games don't go your way. It's tough. It's tough. And sports is, it's a roller coaster. There's highs and lows. But that's what makes it great. And that's what makes it fun. And so, learning to deal with adversity is one of the best things you can learn from playing a sport. And I think it says it up there, but this environment right here, high school sports, is the safest environment that you can learn to deal with adversity. Right? Because you're protected by people around you that care, right? And, it's the place where you learn to deal with these things. It's a much safer environment than anywhere else. So, just to go through a couple basics really quick of what you need to participate. If you are a fall athlete, you may have done this already, but we require a few simple things. First being a physical. You need to have a physical every 2 years. And basically, just anytime you have your yearly physical with your physician, they'll give you a printout that says at the bottom, okay to participate in sports clubs, activities. We just need a photocopy of that, and we ask for it every 2 years. Usually, when you're an incoming freshman, we hand one into Rob, and then again your junior year. But we do have some families that will send one in every year. So every time they get a physical, they'll send it in. We will take it every year if you so wish to. You can never send in enough, but at minimum, we request it every 2 years. So if you're coming in, you just moved here and you're a sophomore, you can give one sophomore year and senior year. But every 2 years is the standard that we go with. Registration can be done on PowerSchool. You just log right into PowerSchool, and the form says an athletic registration. You only have to do this one time. Up until 3 or 4 years ago, you used to have to do it 3 times, one for each season. You also had to pay a fee each season. But we have, since the school board has lowered that to, now it's a one-time fee. So if you're a high school athlete, it's a one-time fee of $175, and that will cover you for 1, 2, or 3 sports. So it's just this one fee. If you're playing a fall sport right now, you can go on and play a winter and spring sport for now. So once you register online and pay the fee and hand in your physical, you're good to go. We do have scholarships available, which is right on our website. If you go to athletics.falmouthschools.org, it's right there in the drop-down. There's a scholarship application, and you can fill that out. It goes right to central office, and the Director of Finance and Operations will approve you for anything from a 25 to 50, 75, or 100% scholarship. Athletic training. So we touched on it a little bit. Rob and Sam, this is their email addresses. If you have any questions, you can always email them. Rob's, one of the best things he does is whether or not it's a broken fingernail or a broken leg, you get a phone call from Rob, and he will fill you in. He's an excellent communicator when it comes to injuries or student athletes. Some of you, I've actually gotten this question a few times in the last week, which is great. You may have gotten an email asking you to sign up for something called Healthy Roster. This is a program that we use, that Rob and Sam will use, and it's basically a program that loops in everybody about a student athlete's injury. So if a student athlete suffers an injury, you have the athletic trainers, you have myself, you have the head coach, and you have the parent guardian, all in the same loop. And you can download the app right off their website, Healthy Roster. And it works really great because it's compartmentalized. So the coach might look at it and see ankle injury cleared, not cleared, right? But the athletic trainer can see more, and of course the parent guardian can see everything, right? All the notes that Rob puts in about the injuries, how they're progressing, things like that. And so it's very private and secure. So as a parent guardian, you can feel safe knowing that your child's information is private, just between you and Rob. But like I'm the coach of the team, I can just see, okay, this kid is cleared or not cleared, and it's a great communication tool. And these are all the organizations up here that use it. Maine Health, look at that. University of Colorado Athletic Department. Did I touch everything on that, Rob? And this is cool. Same security system as Amazon, so it's very secure. I don't know tech all that well, but it sounds good to me. So if you see an email for that, if you have questions, ask Rob, and he'd be happy to answer everything with it. But it's a really good tool. We've had a lot of success with it, and it really helps us track injuries. The other cool thing it does at the end of the year, we can print reports out of when kids are getting injured. Is it a certain time of the year? Is it during preseason? Does one season have more injuries than the other? One sport? It gives us a lot of really good data to look at, and you can try to change the way we do things in terms of the data that we get from that year. Just a little bit about our program. We have 28 varsity sports, which is a ton for a school of only 680 students. We're a member of the SMAA, which is a Class A conference. We used to be part of the Western Maine Conference for years and years and years, but as our population grew and we started to get into the Class A state playoffs, it made a lot more sense for us to be playing the teams that we would play in the playoffs. So we moved from the Western Maine Conference, which is mostly Class B schools, to the SMA, which is all Class A schools. So a majority of all of our sports are Class A, with the exception of a couple that do it a little differently. Football does it a little bit differently, and volleyball does it a little bit differently, but we are a Class A school. If we tend to have 1 year where we fall down into B in a certain sport, we usually apply up. So for instance, boys and girls lacrosse, we tend to fall into the Class B category, but we apply up because we want to play the best competition we can. We want to play the toughest schedule we can, regardless of sport. We a member of the Maine Principals Association, as all public schools are in the state. And we like to promote free sport athletes. And as sports become more specialized, we still try to convince kids to play multiple sports. The benefits of it are great. It helps you in your main sport. It teaches you new skills. You get coached by different coaches with different philosophies, with different personalities. And the more you can get coached by different people with different approaches, the better off you're going to be as an athlete, the better off you're going to be in the business world. And so we encourage kids to play multiple sports. And the way things are going, I've coached elementary, middle, and high school in the last 20 years or so. I've coached softball, baseball, and football at all 3 levels. And I also coach AAU club, or we call travel baseball. And so I'm kind of on both sides of the coin, and they can coexist. You can have student athletes that maybe are, let's say, they're a baseball player. That's a sport. I'm a baseball player. So you can play high school baseball and you can play travel baseball. You can play high school basketball and play travel. You can play high school football and play that. So they're starting to coexist. And so if your main sport, is something you want to play in college, you can still do that club thing and also play 3 high school sports. Right? They used to kind of compete with each other. I'm sure there's still some of that out in the world, but for the most part, they've started to learn how to coexist. And it's a great thing. And so we promote multi-sport athletes, and I always will. And lastly, we have a very veteran coaching staff, especially like if you look at this fall. A majority of our varsity coaches are teachers in the building. A majority of them have been here for multiple years. Dave Halligan, I think, is on his 37th year as the varsity soccer coach. Joe McCurry and Danny Paul teach in the building. They've been coaching cross country for 20-something years. Robin Haley's been here for over 20 years. She's a counselor here in the building. I want to say our golf coach has been here 6 or 7 years, and he might be we have, really good, strong veteran coaches and some really young, good, energetic coaches that are coming up. And, I would put our coaching staff here against any coaching staff in the state. We have some really, really, really terrific coaches that have won multiple state championships that are well known in the state as some of the best in their particular sport. So we're super fortunate. And I always try to tell people that, so they have that little bit of perspective that I would be thrilled as a student athlete to be coached by the coaches in the school, because they're really good. Facility upgrades. So in the last 8 years, we've tried really hard to update a lot of our facilities, and we're getting to the point where we're going to get the turf replaced pretty soon. That's coming up. There's also this campus project where we're looking 10 years down the road. There might be a new middle school, and there might be some upgrades. So we're looking to hopefully get a second or even third turf field. But we've done a lot of things already in the last 8 years. We've totally resanded the floor 3 years ago, all the way down to Marywood, restriped it, put on a new finish, and really brightened the whole thing up. So our floor was redone. We expanded the weight room by 500 square feet, I think about 6 years ago. There was a storage closet there that really wasn't being utilized. We knocked the wall down, put in a new rubber floor, and bought a bunch of new striped equipment from actually Rob Gronkowski's brother, Gordon. We've done a lot to update that weight room. We also have somebody in there during the school year every day from 2:30 to 4. So if you're a student athlete or not a student athlete, if you're a student and you want to come down to our weight room after school and work out anytime from 2:30 to 4, there's somebody in there supervising it, and we'll give you a program to work out. A lot of our teams go in there with their head coaches as well. We have expanded the athletic office, which was could maybe fit one desk, and we've knocked a few walls out, and now there's 4 of us in there, so we've done work there. We built an outdoor volleyball court during COVID. That first year back, the MPA came out and said that you could have sports, but you had to be outside. And so the volleyball players could have a season, but need to be outdoors, which is obviously a problem because they use the gym. And I remember, maybe a year before that, talking with the volleyball boosters about wouldn't it be nice to build an outdoor volleyball court. And I remember that day when the MPA announced that, I was with our volleyball coach, and he and I kind of got on the phone and said, we need to build an outdoor volleyball court like tomorrow. And I called our superintendent at the time, Jeff Bruno, and he said yes. And I called our director of finance, and he said, we'll figure it out, do it. And I called Topper West, who's our director of maintenance, and he said, I'm going to call our contractor tomorrow morning, tonight, and hopefully he can come by and look at it tomorrow. And I got a call like 20 minutes later from him and said, can you be here tomorrow at 6 o'clock? And I said, sure. I said, is he going to come look at it? He said, no, they're going to start work tomorrow. And so we built an outdoor volleyball court in 3 days. And it was just one of those things where it needed to be done for the girls to have a season, and everybody said yes. And it was one of the coolest things I've ever been a part of. There's actually a book coming out by Dave E. from Channel 13, and he wrote a book with Gary Stevens, who's the AD at Thornton Academy, about what Maine sports was like during COVID. And they covered UMaine, they covered high school sports, everything. There's a whole chapter there about our volleyball court. So it's really cool. I don't know when that's coming out, but I have to figure that out. I'm excited to see it. And then, we've done repairs to the turf. We just had some more done last week, stitch things up, areas wear out. We have them come in, cut it out, replace it. So we keep up to date on that. And then baseball and softball, we've built 7 batting cages in the last few years. Totally DIY. Coach DeAndre, our baseball coach, is really good at do-it-yourself projects, and he came up with this crazy plan in his head to build some batting cages. So we currently have 7 batting cages on campus. We have 6 outside and 1 here in the gym. So if you're a baseball player, a softball player, or even a golfer, the one in the gym we can take golf balls in. It's pretty awesome. We did it cheap, and we did it all by ourselves. And then this thing right here, if you follow our Instagram, we bought this thing called Turf Keg, which Rob found. He got a random sales pitch email, and we followed up on it. And this group right here, Turf Tank, were the same people that created Huddle. So if you watch our games on YouTube, it's done by the camera in the gym around the turf. We have these cameras for this program called Huddle. It films games without anybody behind it. We send the games out to Huddle. They break all of it down into offense, defense, special plays, every time number 4, touch the ball, whatever. It's the same program the NFL uses. So we use that for all of our sports. And it's widely used in college. So our kids have a huge advantage of using that. But anyway, the people that created Huddle, it got so big and it got sold that they got together and decided to create this turf tank thing. And this little robot paints fields using GPS. So it's this one little robot with a tablet, and it paints the straightest lines I've ever seen. A human couldn't do that. And so we just, we used their sample and they gave us for a little bit, and then just yesterday we got ours programmed, and they came to the campus, they put this cool wrap around it with our logo on it, and so now we can paint all of our fields, the turf, the grass fields. We can put a giant Navigators logo like anywhere on campus. It's really remarkable, and so it's a huge thing for us. It's going to save a lot of time for our maintenance people, so they can, line the field with the robot while they're mowing the other field, and it cuts down on time pretty significantly. So the maintenance guys call that the Halligan 1, which I thought was pretty fun. So last thing what we'll do is we'll cover expectations of our student athletes, our parents and guardians, and our coaches. And so, by the way, it was 2018, girls lacrosse first state championship that year. They set out a goal to win the state championship and the sportsmanship award, which usually doesn't happen. And we don't win a ton of sportsmanship awards, not because we're not, we just win a lot, so I don't think people really like that. But that team won the state championship and the sportsmanship award. Pretty awesome. Those glasses. So expectations of high school athlete. We expect you to be a good citizen. We expect you to follow all the school rules. All right. Expect you to represent your team well. Prioritize your family first, right? And academics and athletics. Respect your teammates, coaches, and opponents. And commit to your team. Be a good teammate. These are all really pretty simple things. Okay? So it's not asking a lot. But I always tell our student athletes, when you put that jersey on, or you're wearing that Falmouth field hockey jacket out in public on a Friday night, that you better, respect your team, respect your school, and respect your family, because you're wearing the over. Alright? So we always expect our kids to carry themselves great, and I gotta be honest with you, in the 8 years I've been here, there's never been a kid in the school that I didn't like. There's awesome kids in the school. They're so much fun. They make us laugh every day. They work super hard. They're super respectful. Every single day after practice, kids walk by and they fist bump their coach and say thank you. And that doesn't happen in every high school. So I don't know if our kids know that, but it's just something that's done here. And it was done before I got here, or Rob got here. And it's been a long tradition. It's something little like that isn't done everywhere. So it's pretty awesome. Love the kids in the school. Athletics is a privilege. The Supreme Court actually ruled that athletics is a privilege, so you have a right to go to public school, you have a right to get an education, you have a right to go to class and be in the classroom, but you don't have a right to play athletics. So you do need to follow school rules, right? And we expect our kids to do that. And just because you pay a user fee doesn't mean you're going to play. And the coaching staff and the team is the one person who is in charge of deciding who's going to play, when they're going to play, and strategy, play calling, all those things. And we expect, like I said, that they follow all NPA, SMA, and public school rules. The bona fide team member is a rule that basically says that the student athlete must commit to their high school program first. And what the spirit of that rule really is that to make sure we give schools the ability and the power against club sports, because you, as a member of a high school athletic team, field hockey player, and you want to go they have this big field hockey clinic camp thing, I think in Maryland or something, in the spring. You want to miss your softball game, you want to go down for the weekend and do this clinic because a lot of college coaches can do that. The athletic director, coach, we can file a form, and it's basically a waiver saying, okay, you can miss a practice or a game to go to this special event because it's beneficial for you in your recruiting process. And so there are options to do that. But you can't just say to your coach, hey, I'm going to miss every Friday game because, I do this club game. So, Bonafide team note basically says you have to put your high school team first. You have to be passing all your classes. Fortunately, we do not deal with a ton of ineligibility here at the school. Our student athletes do very well in the classroom. And, if you're struggling in the classroom, we have programs in place where I will give a student athlete 2-week project support, so every 2 weeks or every week, they'll have their teachers fill it out if they're struggling, and I'll get this project support, and we can see, okay, they've handed in their assignments, they're on the right track, or if they're not, and they're still not coming through, and they're not handing in their work, or they're still behind, and we can pull them from the team. So it's a really good program. We don't have to do that a lot, fortunately, but it's a very effective means for making sure our student athletes keep their grades up. Attendance must be in class. You can't skip class. All right, you need to be where you need to be. All right, and then when in doubt, if you have a weird situation, just call my office and ask me. Doctor's appointments, death in the family, college visits, like excusable things. But if you have a question about it, just call me and we can work through it. I can grant an excuse for that. It's not a problem. And then if you're suspended, whether it's in school or out of school, you can't play a game or practice that day. So if you have in-school suspension, you can't practice. If you're suspended out of school, you can't practice. So while you're in suspension, you can't do anything. Our expectation is student athletes don't participate in drugs, alcohol, vaping, tobacco. There is a matrix online, so if you were to be a student athlete and you go to a party and it gets broken up by the police, we have 2 student resource officers here. We work very well with the police department. We're going to find out. They will report that to us. So we have in our system a way to self-report. So if a student athlete gets in a bit of trouble over the weekend and they're at a party and the police break it up and your name's taken and you get summons, you have 2 options. You can do nothing about it, and then the school's going to get the report, and then we're going to find out, and then there's a pretty stiff penalty of 25% suspension from your season. Or you can come in Monday morning and see me or your coach and self-report and say, I was at this thing, I shouldn't have been there, I got in some trouble. And if you self-report, there is a lesser penalty. Depending on which sport you play and how many games there are, it could be something as simple as you have 2-game suspension, and we'll have you sign a contract agreeing that nothing like that will happen again, and we will have you meet with Robin Haley, who's our drug and alcohol counselor, and we found that to be such a much better and effective way to go about it, and so it's a great way for students, if they make a mistake, to encourage them to come forward and to self-report. And if you have any questions, there's a school board policy on there, JICI, and that covers the whole policy, and it has the matrix in it. If this happens and you self-report, here's the consequences, versus if you don't self-report, here's the consequences. So it's a great document. I think they did the work on that maybe 10 years ago, and it's well done. Our coach expectations. You can expect that your coach will communicate their philosophy and team rules to you, that they'll treat you, all the student athletes, with respect, that they'll provide a safe practice and game environment, that they'll provide strong training, to improve your ability and fitness level, and they'll communicate what your role is on the team and how you can improve. And that's a key one. That's a big one, because a lot of the times, if there are issues with student athletes or parents and guardians, questioning something that usually about what the role is on the team. And our coaches overall do a very good job of explaining to students and meeting with them and saying, okay, you're going to be a JV player, you're going to be a varsity player, you're a role player, you're a starter, and continuously checking in with them to make sure that they know what their role is on the team. And if you're a student athlete and you're confused and you don't know, you can always go to your coach anytime and ask to meet the coach and say, hey coach, can I talk to you? I just have a couple questions about my role in the team or what I can do to get better. And so the student athletes always feel free to go to your coach and ask those questions. Okay? And our coaches, like I said, they do a really good job with that. And we're fortunate that we have veteran coaches. This parent guardian next to the pictures, I took this picture like 10 days ago. Do you remember there was like a double rainbow 10 days ago? We were out at football practice, and I snapped that one. The other one's over here somewhere, but you know, I think the picture got a little faded. But this is the rainbow. It's a cool picture. Coach Joy right there. Great defensive coach, football. Parents and guardians, we hope that you'll model good behavior. And that starts with our behavior in the stands, respecting opponents and officials at games. There is nothing more, this isn't just parent related, this is fan related, this is student athlete related. Anybody that's in the stands, there's nothing more cringeworthy than somebody yelling at a referee or a coach during a game. We've all heard it before. You can hear it. Some person's up there screaming something at the referee. Just know that those are the people that everybody else is rolling their eyes at, all right? Understand, each coach is different. They have different styles of communication. They have different personalities. They have different philosophies. Some are easygoing, some are much more intense. They run the entire spectrum, all right? And that's why we talked about earlier, being a three-sport athlete and getting coached by different people with different personalities. It all helps. I've had every type of coach imaginable when I was growing up. And you know what? I ended up loving them all. I had great coaches growing up. I was super fortunate. But just understand that they're all different, okay? And there's no real right or wrong way, all right, to coach, all right? There are certainly wrong ways to do things, but just because some are more intense, or some are more laid back, or some value X's and O's a little more than like, you know, the team building, the camaraderie, they're all different. But they all, it's the best way, you know, it's just to take all those in and understand that people are different. Talking about accolades, you know, it's awesome if you make the first team, whatever. It's really cool. But as a student athlete, don't put all of your value into that. I need to make the all-star team. I need to do this. All right? When you get older, you're going to realize that none of that stuff was really that important, and that relationship with your coaches and your friends is by far the most important thing. So don't put too much emphasis into awards or accolades or things like that. Just be the best teammate you can. If an athlete has an issue with the coach, parents and guardians should always encourage the athlete to speak with the coach directly. If you're a student athlete, like I said, doesn't know their whole team, whatever, the best thing you can do as an athlete is just talk to your coach directly. 99% of the problems that arise would be solved, are always solved, when the student athlete just meets with the coach. Okay? And if that doesn't seem to clear up any issues, you know, then the parent and guardian, we'll talk about this a little further, the parent, guardian, and the athlete can go and meet with the coach as well. Look at student athlete adversity as a gift, because I talked about this earlier. It's the safest environment to learn. It's the safest environment to learn this. And so, it's okay if you're not starting. It's okay, you know, if you get hurt. It's really hard. It's really hard. But it's going to make you a better person, and it's going to make you a tougher person to be able to deal with things better when you do struggle. And everybody's going to struggle. The best athlete in here is eventually going to get to the next level and not be the best athlete. And so it's going to happen at some point. People are going to get injured, and you know, it's just a great way to learn these lessons. Things that we really shouldn't, parent and guardians should never discuss with the coach. Okay, other student athletes obviously being the number one. Team strategy, play calling, playing time, awards, stats. Here's a little tip: nobody cares about stats. colleges don't care about stats, right? They want to see film, they want to see you run, they want to see you do this, they want to see your game film. They don't care if you made first team whatever, they don't care how many rushing yards you had, how many points you scored, it doesn't matter. They want to see you on film. So don't get hung up on, whether that was a base hit or an error, okay? Because they want to see that you hit the ball hard, not that you actually went on the base. And then, proper way to deal with an issue for athletes and parents, touched on this a little bit. Student-athlete meets with coach, always the best way to do it. Almost always solves the problem. Okay? Meet with your coach, ask questions. What can I do to get better? What can I do to become a starter? Or what can I do to crack the lineup? And step 2, AD will contact the parent guardian for the group meeting. So if step 1 doesn't work, the parents can meet with the student-athlete and the coach, and we can bring myself in too if we need to. But we generally want the student-athlete there. And a lot of the times, parents and guardians will say, I want to meet with the AD, I don't want to meet with the coach, I don't want my kid there, I don't want my kid to know that I'm, bringing this up. The only time it's really okay for you to bring something up and, you don't want the kid to know is if it's a family issue and you want to make us aware. Okay, so sometimes parents and guardians come to us and say, hey, we have a family issue going on, we divorce, or anything. And, I want you to just know this, keep an eye out. Sorry, daughter, something might be off. Letting us know those things is totally fine. It's totally fine. But if you want to contact the coach because you're upset about playing time and you don't want your son or daughter to know, it's not really appropriate. Just encourage kids to meet their coaches. It's the best way to handle this. And like I said, it usually clears everything up. And just so like I just said, parent guardian, feel free to contact the coach. If you have a question, simple question, or you need clarification of something, and your kid talking to the coach doesn't work out, parents contact the coach. Everybody's emails on the website. You go to whatever sport, click on it. Varsity coaches, JV coaches, they're all on there. Get a picture, their email, shoot them an email, set something up, and if eventually down the line I have to come in on that, I'm happy to do so and work with families. Parent has issue with coach. Some things not to do, meet with parents without the student athlete. Meet discreetly off campus. I can't believe I didn't put that on there, and it hasn't happened in a couple of years, but I used to get all kinds of requests of, I'd like to meet with you at such and such a coffee shop because I don't want to be seen at the school. I need to complain about the coach. I'm not going to do that. None of our coaches are going to do that. And the anonymous email or the anonymous letter, we don't put any credit into those. So if you send an anonymous letter to the school, I'll read it, I'll throw it in the trash. You do nothing with it. So just come forward with this to follow up. We've gotten this. This has been in my presentation every year. And people say, well, I didn't want to ask the coach this question. This goes for student athletes or parents or guardians or anybody. I didn't want to ask the coach because of fear of retribution. They're going to punish my kid if I say anything. Or the kid's going to say, if I ask coach why I'm not playing, he or she's going to punish me. It's a myth. There's not a coach in the country that is going to punish a kid because they don't like their parents. Coaches, especially at the varsity level, they play the best players because they want to win. And that's really it. Coaches know if a parent doesn't like them. Coaches know if a parent guardian is talking about them on Facebook. We know. We would never punish a kid for that. If the kid is good enough to be in the starting lineup, they're going to be in the starting lineup. Right? And you might not agree with that, and that's totally fine. That's part of sports. Not always agreeing with the coaching decision. That's okay. But you just have to understand that, and I used to tell this to players, when I make my baseball lineup, I put the 9 players out there that I think are going to give us the best chance to win the game. And that's really what it boils down to. Coaches don't care who you are or what are the players that are going to need more. All right, we're going to wrap this up. Any Ted Lasso fans here? Social media. If you want to follow us, communication, we've had Twitter and a bunch of Facebook. We've had all kinds of different social medias. We're sticking with Instagram. That's going to be our main go-to. You can give us a follow. It's Falmouth Athletic on Instagram. YouTube, we have a YouTube page where we stream a lot of our games. A lot of the times we'll stream our games and then we'll pull them off until after the state championship, so other schools can't scout us. So if you can't see the soccer game from next week on there, just check November 15th, it'll be back up. Tonight's thing is being recorded and will be up on our YouTube page hopefully tonight or tomorrow morning. And then we started a newsletter, the Navs News, goes out every Monday morning at 6 a.m. And you'll get that this coming Monday. And it's basically a weekly newsletter. It's our athletic department version of principal's notes. And we wanted to do that for a while. We just started it last year, and it's been a pretty good success. And, so we're going to continue to do that. We'll highlight great things our student athletes are doing, and we'll have the weekly schedule. Big announcements, things like that. We can cover some middle school stuff in it too. And then the last thing about communication, just remember that every coach, every program communicates differently. So you might be part of a program that uses Teams now, and the coach might send out the weekly calendar and announcements. And there are some programs that use Teams now, but a parent or guardian does it for the coaching staff. Some coaches send out a weekly email to everybody saying, here's what it looks like for the week. And some coaches will give you the schedule at the beginning of the year. You might not hear from them again. And, they're going to tell your kids what time practice is every day and things like that. So just understand that there's no one uniform way that all of our coaches communicate. They're all just like they have different personalities and coaching styles. They have different communication styles. But I can promise you one thing. The student athletes are going to know when practice is. If they're at practice the day before, they're going to know when it is the next day. And so, feel free to reach out to your coach if you're not on a certain app or anything like that. And they should be able to tell you how they communicate and how they get the information out and the best way to get that every week. And that's it. So, Roy Kent, the best character in the show. I love it. Thank you again for coming tonight. I really appreciate it. If you have questions, shoot me an email, give us a call in the office. We're happy to answer any questions